till you're done. Just turn 19, you've had your fun. So much in this world that looks like me or the her I'm now meant to be. Bye, everyone's got one. I'm so excited, I'm gonna look so dumb. And I could learn to walk and talk like you, or I could learn to try something brand new.
Thank you. I was asked to speak today about leaders who bring light and leaders who bring darkness. And that's fantastic for me because these are big themes that I've been involved in as an activist and as a cartoonist for many, many years. The leader who was bringing the darkness at that time was P.W. Botha. In the old days, he used to wave his famous finger around. We will talk to anyone who is prepared to forswear violence. Forswear means to say, I won't do it. The violence was, of course, coming from the state. That was the real violence. What he was saying was, we'll talk to people like Nelson Mandela, especially Nelson Mandela, if he's prepared to say, I will not be violent. Nelson Mandela had to begin the armed struggle with the ANC because the government was committing terrible violence against the majority of the population. And eventually, Nelson Mandela was freed, no thanks to P.W. Botha, and what a difference he made to our country. There again, you see the theme. It's a theme that I've been involved with for so long, the idea of light as good, darkness as bad, and you'll see it cropping up in many different ways. And you see the old flag in the dustbin. It was an incredible period for the new South Africa to have a leader like Nelson Mandela to put in place the kind of institutions that we needed. This is pretty quick, to move from Nelson Mandela to the next leader of the country, Thabo Mbeki. So I'm not even going to show you many things, but Thabo Mbeki, he had many good qualities, but he also did some very weird things around HIV/AIDS, went on his own mission, and he also hid a lot of things around his police commissioner, Jackie Selebi, who was clearly corrupt. Thabo Mbeki said, trust me on Selebi. We didn't. The Lion King, co-starring, reward-winning Jackie Selebi, and soon featuring Jacob Simba in I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Jacob Zuma then found a way to outflank Thabo Mbeki, and as he was about to become president, it became apparent that Jacob Zuma was trying to threaten and bully the judiciary in order to drop corruption charges against him so that he could become president. Anyway, when he became president, I thought, well, let me give him a chance. I had begun putting a shower on his head after he said a very strange thing when he was under cross-examination in a rape case. He was charged with rape. He was acquitted, but he made the famous statement that he had a shower to lessen his chance of infection after having sex with somebody that he knew to be HIV positive. Very strange. I hope you guys all know a lot better than that about HIV. So when he became president, I thought, let me give him a chance. I want this government to succeed. I want this country to succeed. So I raised the shower above his head, and the shower was floating around, going up and down according to how well or badly he was doing. And this happened for about 8 months. And then there were stories, again, the man who'd been head of the National AIDS Program, there were a couple more babies out of wedlock. Now, he had 4 wives at the time, and then he had a number of mistresses and a couple of babies out of wedlock. So all the messages he was giving were completely hypocritical, and I could not keep that shower off his head. When he made a major speech, there's the State of the Nation address. As you see, the shower came back with a bang, and my favorite cartoon of that period, the baby shower. Many people actually counted the number of babies floating around there. They all look like Jacob Zuma, as you see. They've all got showers on their heads too. And Now, of course, the huge, huge matter, which I've already mentioned, in Nkandla, 246 million rand. I'm allowed to say he stole money. I've done that in the last week. I had a huge cartoon that just said thief, with a shower on the F and things like that. But yeah, so, I think it's pretty... That's essentially what's happening, and that I did quite a while ago, the Nkandla cash cow. You see the South Africa mapped into that cow. There he is, I suppose, in the fire pool, enjoying our money. You see I love the shower. I love playing with the shower. You see there it becomes the sort of snorkel or something. There's a very, very good leader. Leaders don't always have to be the leaders of the country. There's a very fantastic, wonderful leader, and that is Thuli Madonsela, who is the public protector. And there, Thuli Madonsela is trying with that report to protect the Constitution. Of course, the shower, that it's just quite a sort of a metaphorical cartoon. I don't want to be too grandiose about it. Jacob Zuma and his particular clique in the ANC have been trying to bring in things like the Protection of Information Bill, which is becoming an act, and it is in fact a way to shut down criticism and information. In particular information, that would be a sort of a very general thing. There's free speech, and so that's just a metaphorical person, not Thuli Madonsela. This was in fact even before Thuli became as big as she is now in the public mind. So there you have the torch idea again, and then another light and darkness thing around the same issue. This is when one of those things was going through Parliament, and there's democracy, and it's a little secrecy on that paintbrush, on that paint can, and it is being shut down. As I said, somebody like Thuli Madonsela is a leader, and so are other people outside of presidency, etc. People like Archbishop Tutu, who will always criticize, will always say what should be said, and about anything. And I admire him so much. Of course, he's never been in government. That does make a difference. But still, he's somebody I really love. This is I thought I'd like to show you. This is my favorite puppet from the Zan News puppets that I've been involved in for a long time. There's the Arch. But somebody who is such a wonderful, undefended kind of person that he loves that puppet so much that there have been at least 2 or 3 occasions when he hasn't been able to be at an event and he's asked the puppet to stand in for him. And I'm not making that up. And just a couple of other kinds of leaders who... people look up to people for all kinds of things, including to sports people. Oscar Pistorius, for one. You see, that was done over a year ago. It was done just after Valentine's Day last year. And you see icon, which is what somebody like Oscar had become. And you see that the I crossed out, and what you're left with is a con. It's a con in many different ways. Okay, so I have to show you a sports person who still has our kind of confidence and trust. Not that he had that sort of Paralympian status that Oscar had as well, but Chad Leclos, butterfly. When he burst on the scene in the butterfly, that for me was a big moment for me to do a cartoon like that. So where are we now with some of our leaders? Well, you know the famous ascent of humanity, and there you see, some of you will know. Okay, the older ones amongst you will know. That's Verwoerd, that's Forster, P.W. Botha, F.W. de Klerk, Nelson Mandela at the apex of our democracy, then Thabo Mbeki. It's kind of unfair on Thabo Mbeki that he's smaller than de Klerk, but it's a little bit of exaggeration for the purposes of the cartoon because I had to get down to Jacob Zuma very quickly. And it's actually... And to be fair to Jacob Zuma, it's also an exaggeration that he is as low as Verwoerd, because he's not as low as Verwoerd. But again, for the purposes of a cartoon, I mean, who said cartoonists have to be fair? That's the last thing that we are. Now, a cartoonist I always call myself a visual columnist. And so I have opinions. I have to voice them, and that's what I'm here for. Well, that's what I think. So when Nelson Mandela died, I continued that sunrise, sunset theme that I had been using for him for quite some time. And I did that cartoon, and it really felt, I was trying to tap into where I felt we were as a nation around the passing away of Nelson Mandela. If there were more leaders coming through of his caliber, I don't think we would have needed to feel even as sad as we felt. But his generation is passing away. There are some people of great caliber, and we're hoping we've got to find them. We've got to find them, we've got to nurture them, we've got to help them. I hope some of them are sitting right here. I hope some of them are you. That's what we need. We need people who actually do care for what we're becoming and what we have been. Some of this we have to become again. The world bids farewell to an icona. That was a cartoon I did actually in 1999, and I reworked it in color when he passed away. And I just thought, again, as I said, if some of you are sitting right here, the leaders who are going to become the new generation that can help us to get out of where we're going at the moment, I wanted to show you this. Nelson Mandela, the early years. And you see, what will I be? That's the assignment. There's the teacher and the principal. This one can't make up his mind. He put down lawyer, activist, freedom fighter, prisoner of conscience, president, reconciler, nation builder, visionary, and 20th century icon. Can you imagine Nelson Mandela? Of course he wouldn't have known that he was going to become all those things. That's a sort of an in-joke that I have with the reader, because we know that's what he became. But imagine the child with the potential to become what he dreams of, or she dreams of. And that's part of what that cartoon is about as well. And the last one, when Nelson Mandela stepped down, on the day that he stepped down, it was the day that he made his final speech in Parliament as president, just before stepping down. I was lucky enough to be at that speech in Parliament, and then I went just down the road here to Fernwood Estate, where they had an after party, a sort of garden party, and after party, yeah, real swinging thing, lunchtime, all the parliamentarians. But anyway, I went there, and I told you about the Zanuse puppets. The first one we had made was Nelson Mandela. I had it with me. I wanted to actually get him to meet the puppet. So I found a way to fend off the bodyguards. I got permission, sort of, to bring the puppet to him at the end of the proceedings after lunch, and the bodyguards didn't know about it, so I was trying to push them away. You'll see a very tall one called Tall. That's what they called him, and he wasn't very impressed. I walked up to Nelson Mandela with the puppet. I stuck the puppet's hand out, and he said, "Oh, I believe I've met this gentleman before." And that, again, was something he was so undefended, he was so ready to make a quick joke at his own expense. He was somebody who, I found out in a phone call, he one day phoned me out of the blue. I said to him, I've met you just almost 4 years ago. I can't believe that you're phoning me yourself after you would have seen the cartoons getting more and more critical of the ANC and of government. And he said, "Oh, but that is your job." And that, for me, was a vindication, something that I could hold, something that I could take forward and think, it really is my job. If I've chosen to do this kind of thing, and I'm getting an endorsement from the most famous person in the world, the person I respect most in the whole world, then it is my job, and I've been very lucky to be able to do it. Thank you very much.